to have a look how to acquire rationality and bring out our most rational self. Namaskar and welcome to Ignited Stories. I am Dev, and on this channel we talk about entrepreneurship, business psychology and strategy. Whether you are an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned businessman, join me as we explore insights, strategies and stories that will ignite your business journey. In our last video, we discussed how our emotions are running the show. So now it's the time to have a look how to acquire rationality and bring out our most rational self. This is really important because if you want to take the right decisions in life, it's important to be rational and stay rational, or else you will be faced with hurdles at every step. However, before we start getting in the process, let us understand what kind of irrationalities we do have. The first is low-grade irrationality. This is all about those continuous moods and feelings below our consciousness that affect our planning and decision making without us even realizing it. Just like sometimes you try to finish a project within the deadline, but you keep getting distracted by the smallest things. Every one of you must have come across a friend or co-worker who spends hours reorganizing his desk instead of doing his actual work. In which areas do you think you have continuous irrationality or a low-grade irrationality? Share in comments. Then comes the high-grade irrationality. This usually kicks in when we are not able to control our emotions due to pressure. This leads to a reactive state like violence, obsession, greed, and the need for control. Remember that viral video of the guy who lost his control at a traffic signal over a minor scratch on his car? See high-grade irrationality in action. And it is the source of acute problems like crisis, conflicts, and disastrous decisions in our life. Now, how to master rationality? The first step is about recognize the biases that cloud our judgment. Biases are basically systematic patterns of deviation from rationality or objectivity in judgment and decision making. These deviations are often unconscious and influence how we perceive, interpret, and respond to information and accordingly make decisions. The source of all these biases lies in the pleasure principle. All you want is pleasure in life and you want to avoid pain at all costs. For instance, my rational mind is telling me to go to gym. But that sweet bed every morning, going to gym equals to pain again. So we keep avoiding it day by day. You must have come through similar scenarios in your lives. Share in the comments below. Biases are vast and interesting subject. I'll make a separate video series for them in detail, but let us understand here a few everyday biases and their effects on us. The first one is the confirmation bias. We continuously search for, interpret, and recall information that supports our belief or hypothesis. We knowingly overlook other information. More interesting part here is when we go in search of evidence to support our view, we manage the evidence that confirms what we want to believe. We imagine that we are looking for truth, but in reality, we are trying to find pleasure in I am correct syndrome to soothe our egos. Imagine the smartest of us falling into this trap. In the early 2010s, Indian startups and investors were highly optimistic about the rapid domination of e-commerce in India. Aspired by the success of Amazon and initial local growth, this led to a confirmation bias, where only selective positive data like rising internet penetration and growing middle class was emphasized, while critical challenges such as logistical issues, low credit card usage, and a cultural preference for in-store shopping were downplayed. This biased information fueled inflated valuations and aggressive expansion plans, ignoring early warnings about high cash burn rates and customer distrust. Many e-commerce companies expanded unsustainably, and consequently India became the e-commerce graveyard with the fallen giants like Snapdeal, Ask Me Bazaar, ShopClues, etc. etc. Next is the conviction bias. It makes us think that just because we strongly believe in something, it must be true. I have come across tens of startup founders who overbelieve and are overconvinced that their idea will work. They fall into this conviction bias trap and start building on the idea without even validating it. It ultimately takes them away from the reality and they fail miserably. Interesting in this case is we pour all of our energy to defend our conviction and ourselves instead of being national. Next, let's take some look into the appearance bias. We think that we understand the people we deal with and we see them as they are. But in reality, we don't see people as they are but how they appear to us. Has it ever happened to you that someone you believed is sharp, intelligent and honest because they appeared so, and you subsequently got deceived and cheated? Happens to all of us. Remember, appearances are often deceiving. Now let us talk about the group bias. What is it? Have you noticed you behave a bit different when you are in a group? Yes, we all do that. We are social animals with a deep need of belonging. Feeling of isolation is depressing and terrifying for us. Hence, conforming to the group ideas brings us great relief. It is like you go on a trip with your friends to a place you have no interest going in just to avoid the feeling of being left out. Modern peer pressure of taking engineering or medical college or spending half of our lives behind getting a government job where our chances of success are less than 1% are the biggest examples of group bias. Apart from acting differently, due to such peer pressure, we humans often point fingers at others. When we are at fault to protect our egos, it's our natural response. It's always not our fault, but someone else's. This is what we call blame bias. This is because it is often too painful to look at our mistakes as it questions our superiority feeling. And with superiority feeling comes the superiority bias into the picture, where we think that we are different, more rational and more ethical as well than others. But in reality, in any given point of time, in any group, 1%, 2% or 5% can actually be superior, while 95% others having the superiority bias. See what a paradox. Now we have got an idea of few biases. We must keep in mind that it is these biases which takes us away from reality. It clouds our judgment and we end up making mistakes or wrong moves in our lives knowingly. So it is important to recognize these biases by simply being aware to them to take rational decisions. Now let us move to the second step of acquiring rationality. It is to be aware of the factors that inflame our emotions. There are many such factors, like the trigger points from early childhood. These triggers cause us behave childishly in intensity and out of our general character. Like one of my friends who is usually calm, absolutely loses it when someone criticizes his work. His behavior is deeply rooted in incidents at his school days when he was consistently judged. The great danger here is that in misreading the present and reacting to something in the past, we create conflicts. Our only defense here is our awareness as the inflaming incident is happening. further, we humans have extreme emotions to sudden gains or losses. Like there are people who win a lottery and their happiness knows no bounds. And at the same time, big losses sends us into an emotional tailspin. Whenever you experience unusual gains or losses, that is precisely the time to step back and counterbalance them with some necessary logic that I am not that superior or inferior and it might be luck. Coming to another factor that results in inflaming emotions is the rising pressure under any stress or any threat. Under this kind of scenarios, our instinctive nature, which is built for our survival, kicks in and overwhelms our reasoning powers. Many of you have gone through a meltdown before an important presentation. This is how rising pressure makes us irrational. It is like a pressure cooker ready to explode. Share in comments if you have been in similar kind of situations and how you have handled it. When it comes to triggering powerful emotions, another factor is inflaming individuals. These are the people who have a whole different charisma, having the power to inspire people with their opinions or personality. Think of the influence of freedom fighters like Mahatma Gandhi or history's greatest villain Adolf Hitler. They both had one thing in common, their charisma. That inspired entire nation. But one fought the greatest fights for independence and other did the most heinous genocide in human history. So we need to aware of such charismatic people and filter them through the lens of rationality. Because emotional influence on such a large scale can do good for us but can bring catastrophes too. Now let us move towards those strategies which can bring our rational self out. First and foremost, you need to know yourself thoroughly and realistically. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? As you become aware of your emotional self, emotion loses its control on you. To try to achieve this, I journal my day almost daily to understand my triggers and patterns. And once you journal for 20-30 days, not much, just a para like what you did, what you learned, what you could have done better, and you go through them after, you will find your emotional patterns, your strengths, weaknesses, and blind spots. And now you have become aware of your emotions, you must examine them to understand their roots and triggers. Once you understand their roots and triggers and are aware enough, try to increase your reaction time to situations. You are angry? Wait. What are the roots of this anger? What are the triggers? What needs to be done now? Then if you have to react, then react. Deliberation before reacting is the key. Also, another very important thing to reduce your emotional biases is acceptance of people dispassionately as a natural phenomenon. They simply exist like trees, animals, mountains, and rivers. They come in all varieties like tall, short, weak, strong, good, bad, etc. etc. And they make our life more and more interesting. Instead of trying to change them and projecting your emotions on them, accept them as they are. See, the card has already been dealt and you have your hand, which is your life. Instead of nagging and trying to change others' cards, go play your best game. Work your life out with what you have given and you will do a lot better. Finally, all we need to do is finding the optimal balance of thinking and emotion. It's like the story of the rider and the horse, where your thinking brain is the rider and your emotions are the horse. Without the horse, the rider is powerless and can't go far. And without the rider, the horse is unguided and he also can't go far. Only one scenario can take them to their destination, and that is if they both are in harmony and the rider is mounted and in control. And the more your emotional self is in control, the more you will fall in love with your rational self. As you start on this journey, you will be amazed to experience the calmness and clarity the rational self brings to you. And there you have it, friends. Mastering rationality is a journey of self awareness, understanding your biases, and applying strategies to stay calm and focused. By embracing rationality, we can navigate life's challenges with clarity and purpose. So keep questioning, stay curious, and most importantly, stay rational. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into mastering your mind. See you in the next video.